Hey everybody, Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations here. Just coming on quickly again with another cool little project that I'm working on. It's part of my let's stop Cindy from being bored kind of activity. I am getting ready to paint another piece of furniture, but it's in the get cleaned up stage. Oh, see, every time you wobble, it's because my dog has decided to wake up from wherever she's been sleeping, and she's going in and under the dining room table. So yesterday we worked on this board, and I did a little bit of water slide paper. So first time using, but I said that I would come on and just kind of show you the finished product. This has been sanded. It worked fine to kind of sand the decal to kind of age it a little bit, so you can see it's not quite as bright. I was able to kind of sand out the feet a little bit so that it wasn't as graphic, and sealed it all up with poly, and it's good to go now. And I'm going to be using this kind of stuff, I think, in the future. So this was my test, see how it goes before I try it on furniture. Worked awesome. I like the flexibility of being able to get my own design happening, so I am going to be playing with that on furniture again for sure. I'm at this weird angle. It's tough for me, and I can't see that far, quite honestly. So if y'all say anything and I don't answer, sorry, just the way it goes. I have a bunch of pair of jeans that, one, if you know from earlier videos, are kind of too big for me, but I still use them for painting. And it's kind of one of those nice dilemmas to have, that for once I'm complaining because my pants are too loose as opposed to my pants are too tight. So no complaints, but they're already covered in paint. They've got spatters up and down them, and I have always wanted to say, well, as long as they're going to be covered in paint, why don't I actually paint them? So that's what I'm doing today. I've decided to just suck it up. I got some time on my hands, and I'm going to paint my jeans. So for this, I'm using the DIY paint, Debbie's Design Diary paint. One, because it's really heavily pigmented. I've used it successfully on furniture in the past, so you can take a look at the website, queenbeecreations1.com. I have a tutorial there about painting my daisy armchair. I have successfully used other paints on furniture as well. So the most recent one was the periwinkle blue chair that was just recently up, and still, actually, I just posted for sale this week. So it's up on the website right now. And you can look at it in the Facebook feed and see that. That one, I tried one of the all-in-one paints, so Country Chic paint I used, but I've used Annie Sloan paints as well. On furniture, the treatment is a little bit different because I'm really not able to heat seal the paint, so we're sealing it, and I'm typically sealing it with wax, which sounds awful, but it doesn't come off in your clothes, it's fine. But here what we're going to do is we're going to paint the jeans, and then I can heat seal. So I can use an iron, I usually put some, an old tea towel, or you could use parchment paper and iron through that. That seals the paint. You can toss them in the dryer. The heat from the dryer will heat seal it. And, you know, it'll wear slightly over time, as virtually almost anything would, but is perfectly fine to be able to then toss in your washer and use at will. So I had pulled a bunch of different stencils, some flowers and things, but I also pulled some a stencil for feathers that I haven't used before. I didn't realize these were sticky. It's got a sticky backing on it, and a whole film that had to pull off, and I don't know, after I'm done using them and they're still sticky, what the heck I do with them after. But, you know, that's just one of those dilemmas that I'll work out later. I think it's going to actually be a good thing as I'm doing this on my blue jeans because they're going to kind of stick to the fabric. So it may be one of those that actually worked to my betterment. But I'm going to lay these out. That kind of works awesome. I don't need tape, so that's kind of good. To stencil, I am going to be using stencil brushes, and I am going to kind of pounce. I've got a number of DIY colors, and I'm kind of envisioning mostly in kind of the blues and turquoise kind of family. That's kind of my jam. So I am going to squirt them out onto this plastic mat. Now this is just a cheapo dollar store plastic placemat for the table. So I buy these, I think it's like $4 to $1.50, something like that. Because one of the things, and I'm just going to squirt paint out. So I am using mint chip from DIY, which is a very light kind of greeny turquoise, kind of a mint color, hence the name. I do have Old 57, which is a beautiful light kind of turquoisey color, which is probably one of my faves. I have this deeper, this one's called Mermaid Tail. This is like a deep turquoise, so we're going into the darker shades. And I have Hey Sailor, which is navy. And I have a little bit here of beadboard, which is a white. So I'm just going to pour these out a little bit here. And I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to try doing sort of a little bit of a shading situation here. Let me just cut this tail off here because that's in my way. A little bit of a shading action so that there's some variation on these rather than just straight forward. Oh, I did steal a little bit of queen bee as well. So just in case I need a little hint of that. And we're going to start with a little bit of the mint chip. So I'm just putting a little bit on my brush, and then I just kind of pounce it off to the side, right? So I'm offloading the brush a little bit so that I don't have tons and tons and tons of the color. And you just kind of pounce it down in. Now, you would do this same action on wood where you're just kind of pouncing it straight down. You don't want to drag it because you don't want the paint to go under the stencil at all. But in particular for your fabric, because we're pushing it down into the fabric. Because these are blue jeans, I'm not really worried about the paint going through. If this was a really thin fabric that you were doing, maybe you were stenciling, pillowcases, right? So I've done some stuff on pillowcases. If you're doing pillowcases, then take these plastic sheets, right? These plastic placemats and put them in between, right? So you're not ending up with your stencil bleeding, the paint bleeding down through the backing area at all. So for this particular feather, I'm just kind of taking that lighter shade and leading it up through my feather. And, oops. I'm going to take a little bit of that and maybe kind of do that toward the center of this one and out toward the edges. So just while I've got a wet brush and I'm using this color, might as well kind of go on each of them and get a little bit of the tips. And here again, I got two legs. I got two legs on these pants. So what I do on the one side, I'm going to be doing on the other. But, and I'm losing tons of bristles. Can you see how all those bristles are coming out? Signs, folks, of really cheap stencil brush. I need me some new ones. I need some good ones. If anybody's watching, birthday gift. Jamie Ray Vintage. She has awesome new stencil brushes out. Down in the States. Order them now. Deal with the shipping. Duty. It's tough sometimes here in Canada when some of the new products are all just down in the States. Okay, and just for continuity purposes, let me just get a little bit of that same color, happening a little bit over on this feather. All right, now let me get into, this is the old 57 now. And I can layer the paint over top, kind of blend them out a little bit so it's kind of shading, get a little bit of a gradation thing happening here. Okay, let's see on just a little bit over here, I think. Here and there-ish. Make it a little bit more random. And again, I just got to be a little bit careful towards some of my edges because I trimmed off the stencil fairly close. And I don't want to color outside of the lines on this. Okay, maybe a little bit of this. Right in toward the center. And down that little, oh, I think I'm going to do that. I want my mint chip a little bit brighter on that one. Okay, and let's try, oh, these are awful brushes. They're all coming apart. Definitely, see, look at this one, is just falling right off the stem entirely here. I need new brushes. Doesn't help when you're needing them in the midst of a project. And let's go into a little bit of the Hay Sailor, the navy blue, down toward the bottom here. On the outside edges. And we'll see how this looks. What's nice is that you kind of look at stencils and you think that they look like a little bit of a mishmash, and then you lift it up and you reveal what it looks like with the veining, right? So after you lift off the stencil and you've got some of the design showing through. Now, that means in this case, it's going to be the blue jean material. So, you know, I'm kind of looking and wondering with the colors, especially, you know, using the Hay Sailor, the navy color, and then some of the blues, how much they're going to show up for me, right? So that's part of my dilemma, or some of my thought process. But you know what? It's part of the experimentation. Worst case scenario, I think I stick the stencil over top of it again and paint over it. So a little bit like furniture in the sense that it's just paint, and I can do whatever I want. That's part of my hesitation always too in potentially doing custom orders, right? Is that it's hard. I just stuck my finger into the yellow by mistake, and this is why I have paint pants. Okay. But yeah, it's hard for sometimes people to be able to articulate what it is in their head that they would like to see me do onto their pieces, and they don't know, they aren't familiar with paint and what's possible, what would work, what wouldn't work, so how that translates. They don't understand the different products. So, you know, usually if I start talking about, oh, let's do a wash and let's do a glaze, and oh, we'll do some aging powder, and they're looking, their eyes are glazing over and they're looking at me going, what? You paint it white, right? Just stop already. I don't know what you're talking about, and you're making my head hurt. So it gets tough, because then inevitably I either fail to be able to do what they're looking for, because we really just didn't ever hit clear communication between us, or, you know, I wasn't able to articulate, and it just becomes a big, well, you know what, I end up talking about painting with them more than I actually end up painting. And for me, the fun part is the painting part. So one of the reasons why usually if people say to me, hey, I would love, I'm just looking at maybe adding a dot of yellow in here. If I can see where the stencil is and where the stencil isn't. Nothing wrong with using your finger, right? With a shorter brush. Just a little bit of yellow maybe. Right? How bad could it be? Right now I'm thinking I'm hitting more yellow on the stencil than I am on the fabric. So it looks like there's a lot going on, and I'm kind of going, no, I don't think so much there. So I'm just thinking a little bit of yellow for a little bit of contrast here and there. We'll see how that goes. Just about time to be lifting these stencils up and see how we did. And really, if it looks awful, they're just my paint pants. I wipe my fingers off all on top of them all the time anyway. Okay, so the big reveal. Let's see how this looks. Oh, I like it with the yellow. I think that the yellow just kind of did a little something. Now I'm going to run out of spaces that these babies stick to. Okay, I'll lift them up close for you to be able to take a look. See what you think. So kind of good, right? Do you like them? It's kind of working for me. I'm kind of digging that. I'm kind of liking that, folks. I like the variation. I like that little bit of yellow trailing up. I was thinking of doing it all the way up the side. But I am thinking I kind of like just having the 3. Yeah? Okay. So I think that works. So I am just going to flip this over. Oh, there you go. I'm just going to flip this over, do the other side so it's the same. And, or I may alternate differently the direction of the feathers. But I'm going to do the same kind of colors. I really like how the yellow offset it. I think that it would have been a little bit boring without the yellow. So that bit of contrast is good. And something to keep in mind, right? Sometimes that when you're using a lot of really similar colors, sometimes you just need a little pop of something in there, a little bit of that contrast. You know, I think like a fuchsia could have worked in here too. Something that just sets it off, makes it pop. It doesn't have to be huge, but just that little bit of yellow, I think, really highlighted the colors a little bit more. So I'm going to carry on and do the other leg, and I'll maybe put them on and take some pics and model them for you so you'll be able to see them later. I hope you guys are keeping busy. I hope that you're having some fun in the midst of all the craziness and in the midst of the crisis. So I hope that you're home, you're healthy, you're happy, the family is good. Get together, do something creative. Y'all got jeans, grab some paint, have a little bit of fun. Kids could have a ball with this. Take care.